We're building a vintage supercar based off of 1960s legends like the GT40, Lamborghini Miura, and more. And we're starting with this Porsche Boxster that we got for only $500.
In last week's episode, we got our 302 mounted in here with the transmission, and now we're going to tie everything together so I can run Ryan over, so we can get this thing on the ground.
The day has come. We get to actually clean off the windshield of this car. Why do we have to do it? Yeah, we just have to. The inspection is still good. So now that the windshield's all clean due to me and me alone, I did it all by myself, no help from anybody else. The cameraman is sad. We can't call this project Jigsaw without, you know. Dang, I did a pretty good job. Get it? Like, it's Project Jigsaw. Get it? You know, like the movies, the Saw movies, Jigsaw. The suspension on this side, pretty much put together aside from the front trailing arm, which is kind of temporarily mocked up. So to make the other side also be symmetrical, we need to make this tube and weld it in. Now, I originally made this when we had to do some math to cope the ends and have it fit nicely. I'm gonna show you a trick to make it a little bit quicker. Once you already have one side made, you can copy and paste the other side and save some time. Yeah. All right, so what I'm doing is making a tape pattern, like you see me do often on this channel with sheet metal, but instead I'm gonna use the same technique for copy and pasting this tube. So what I'm doing here is I'm marking my coping on the end. Marker quick, and then we're gonna cut this off, and we'll have our pattern. Cut along my line approximately. I'm gonna mark up so I know which way is which. Oh, I like that line there. Then we peel her off. So now I have my pattern, which I can wrap around another piece of tube to cut. But the problem is if I were to wrap it around the way it is right now with the sticky side in, I'd have the exact copy for this side. So instead, I'll just wrap it this way, inverse it, and then it'll flip it around and reverse it and work. All right, so I got this tape transferred onto here. I got my angles to cut in the end. I mean, it's a little rough, but it should be close enough to work off of. So now I'm gonna chop saw it and we'll have our copied piece. But I can actually fix it. My angle's a little off. I can weld this side here, and bam, we'll be pretty good. Yeah, look what I found. There's some MIG wire left over from the factory when they welded this. Still painted. The mounts are done. I can actually take this cross brace off. Where's Tony at? What do you need? Oh my gosh, that thing's heavy. You wait for me to hit myself by accident because it's probably. This guy brings up a good point. Why did we put a 200 horsepower V8 into this Boxster?
If you know anything about a 1985 Mustang GT, it's that it did make about 200 horsepower. And if you know anything about a 1999 base model Boxster, it also made around 200 horsepower. So why go to all this trouble? Well, number one, it does have a ton more torque. And number two, no, we're not gonna leave it stock. When we're finished, it'll make more than double the horsepower and way more than double the torque. And besides that, it's my dad's engine. That's why. And it's got double shot NOS, so. That's loose. That's all loose. Now we just gotta take bikini bottom
and move it over there. Feel heavy to do. That's not too bad. Oh, my nut! There you go. Got it. I'm always scared, period. Oh. That was way more complicated than using a hammer, Tony. What are you talking about? All right, so we have the suspension relocated in the back here. Both sides are symmetrical, so that's a win. So the next step is to get the bracing figured out. We have a pretty good idea what we need to do, but it requires a little bit of reworking. So when we designed these subframes, we modeled them off of the OEM style subframe, which it all bolts together, right? And in the OEM style subframe, these came down separately and had separate feet to bolt to different components. What we determined actually is that we want to actually combine these to each other, and rather than just like slap some plate between and weld it, we're going to cut off these bases here quick, and we're going to make new bases that integrate them, because then they'll be much more solid. Yeah. Tracey trace. If you don't boop it, it doesn't count. See? That's why we tack stuff. For when you change it later. Well, I do weld things solid a lot more than I should. However, I listened to this one because I went with my gut. The other stuff I welded solid, only one thing needed to be cut off. Well, both sides of that one thing, so two things. Listen here. Why did I just weld this one on the inside, not the outside? What did I do that for? Who hurt me? I think Tony hurt me.
So we put this wheel back on so we can check clearance for our brace.
Yeah.
The original brace was bent to make room for the wheel and tire, but I think because we extended our wheelbase 122 millimeters.
Ironically, which is what this guy was asking about yesterday.
We extended the wheelbase, so I think it's going to give us plenty of clearance in this plane, or yeah, in this vector.
Vector, what's your vector, Victor?
Which clearance?
Man, just lobbing them.
All right.
So the idea originally said we're gonna do tube to here,
Yeah.
and I was nervous.
Kind of that on that line.
Wasn't go up because it's gonna be.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right. It's gonna be like that actually.
It's both, right? So it's going to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
from there it doesn't matter. The camera can't even see. You can't see nothing. All right. So what we're gonna do is roughly have a tubing from here to here. And like I said, we were nervous. I was nervous about the tire clearance, but I forgot about the wheelbase being extended. And because it's extended, it's not going to be a
It's
problem.
going to be anywhere close to it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It makes
so-
fabrication way simpler.
And a straighter tube is a stronger tube.
That's true. 22 overall will be okay. Like that, kind of. So I got these three parts here. I got a piece of 1.25" tubing, 2 plates. The idea is to mount that front brace like that. So weld these to each other so it's nice and beefy. And then we'll have a nice spot for the brace to run to, right there. Be nice and strong.
Yeah.
No Mike Tony. It's actually on.
Yeah.
What?
Improving every day.
They grow up so fast.
I think if we go to 1.5 on this, so that this sticks out past that shoulder, it'll be a lot easier to deal with the coping and stuff here.
Yeah.
And I mean, slightly stronger, and it'll look better. Here, yeah, you want me to do it this way? Well, you know.
I'm not doing that. All right, so these are our two spicy donuts here. I call them spicy donuts because they're extremely hot right now, and I just kind of slapped them together. They're gonna get bolted to the body there, and then after that, we're gonna cope some tubing to make our brace. Give me a little skateboard wheel, look. 610 millimeters. So a genius plan here. I need two 610 millimeter lengths of this 1.25" tube. I love how I just set a length in millimeters, but the diameter's in inches. But don't worry about that. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do, the one end needs to be coped around 1.5" tubing. So I'm gonna take an 1.5" tube hole saw. I'm gonna cope it through the center of this. Now I have my two halves, and they're already both coped with only one hole sawing. It's a big brain move right there. Still too tight. Having a moment. Lube it up. Special Loy. Alright, so now that's gonna go out there. Put this video right here. I wonder if I could use my contour gauge I made for the other size tubing. It's only slightly larger than this. I guess what I always do is eyeball. I'm gonna make a wild guess and think of this slightly too long. Slightly too long. Let's see. Oh. It's the other way. All right, so this brace is tacked in all nice and sturdy like. I want to touch something really quick. So before we were trying to make every single little part like interlock to each other so we could then remove it just like the OEM parts. And we had a thought. Why do that when we can just have it all weld together and then whenever you want to take the engine out, you just drop the whole subframe. It's a lot faster and easier and less engineering and moving parts to deal with. Because the other realistic answer is, how often do you take an engine out of a car? Like, basically when you gotta rebuild it. So, and this one's going to get rebuilt, of course, and it will come out eventually, but the whole subframe is gonna drop anyway by the time we're done because we have to finish welding things we can't reach and paint it. So, we're gonna skip the whole interlocking thing. Because instead, what we can do is just unbolt these 4 bolts here, unbolt the 3 bolts holding the subframe up on the corners, unbolt this, and the engine and trans and rear suspension all drop as one. That phone's really rude. Hey, did you guys know that a car has 2 sides? That means I gotta do this again. Hey, I actually did it right that time. Just need to change the angle a little bit. Tony, will you explain to the people what just happened just now?
So, Ryan had an idea, a solution to what we were trying to do here, and I agreed and liked his idea in its entirety with no changes. Yes, that happened.
I need to hear that one more time. Yeah, so here's my idea, right? So we needed to make a brace that goes from here to here. And originally we were gonna overcomplicate it and kind of have it wrap around, go up here, wrap back. Nah, we're gonna make it more simple. So we're gonna have the same size tubing, so 1.25 inch, run from about here to here, between the oil pan and the bell housing and the transmission, in a straight line. I'll cope the ends, weld it straight in, and we'll be done.
Well, no, then we're going...
Aside from the gusset part.
Yeah, and then we'll gusset the corners.
Yeah.
The reason we were going to bend it is we wanted it to come into this corner.
Yeah, we want to be as close as possible to the lower control arm.
Because that's stronger, but also
things.
bending the tube is not as strong and more complex, and running it here and gusseting into that will do a great job of doing exactly what we need it to do.
Correct. So now we're going to cope and weld. And Tony's going to cope with me being right.
That's going to take longer.
All right, so I had this wild idea, right? I'm going to throw some tape across here, or I did throw some tape across here, and I can use my angle finder and get the angle I need to cope this. Because that should work pretty decently, I think. And if it doesn't, well, I'll just blame the tools. Gotta goo it up, you know? I might go on too long, we'll see. I always go on the longer side to be safe. Oh, no! But yeah, I'm a little too long. That is literally perfect. Dead center between where I want it to be. Shooting for, but not dropping the tube on my face. I'm shooting for between here and here being relatively equidistant. Mainly because right now we don't have the adapter plate for the transmission to engine, which will be here in a little bit. Working on that right now. So to make sure I have enough clearance, if I go within the bounds of this stud, which bolts the adapter plate on, I'm good. So we're gonna be good. And the other thing is this oil pan is not gonna stay the same in the build. We might have to make our own oil pan depending on what we come up with, but we'll notch around this if we have to. But that's gonna look nice. It does look nice. Tell me it looks nice.
It's a buildup of tolerances, especially with your eyeball.
I need a buildup of tolerance for you. That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
To there.
There, yeah.
We gotta go towards you a little bit. Watch, make sure he doesn't move. He's holding my tube in place.
Yeah.
You know what? Your distance is right, but you're like not centered on the coping. Because you have to float it a little bit. So when I'm ready to weld it, just make sure you're like, I'm gonna move your hand up and down, don't worry.
Okay.
Also, I love how you're just like
bare-handing
this.
Yeah.
While I weld it. Me every video. I don't need to wear real gloves for this. It's not that bad. Ow, 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 ow. Ow. Ow, it's on my glove. About square to there. Touching the firewall with a little bit of effort. I mean, we're within probably 2 millimeters. Oh man, that looks so cool.
Yeah, I want to climb on it.
Pull-up competition?
Oh boy, I don't know where I am with my pull-ups. Yeah.
I'm definitely not good at them right now. I'm out of shape.
By extending the wheelbase on this car, we have affected and altered the Ackerman angles for the steering. Now, Ackerman refers to the difference that each wheel turns, and you want that because the inner wheel is turning at a tighter radius than the outer wheel. You don't want your tires slipping, and that's the only way to make that happen. So this guy's concern was legitimate. We will affect it, but we've only extended the wheelbase by 5%. And there are a lot of other things that factor into it, and we're going to be adjusting a lot of those too. So our wheel offset, our wheel diameter stagger, And at higher speeds, even the tire compound will affect what your ideal Ackerman is going to be. We already put much larger rear wheels on the car. These tires are a little bit larger diameter than these. These are the original for the Boxster. These, however, are not as large as the ones on the back. They are going to be staggered in diameter just as the Ford GT40 was way back in the 1960s.
Well, I gotta get ready for competition.
Competition? You were going to tire yourself out.
Getting warmed up. Where'd be a good shot to take to film this thing? So we changed up the front wheels to be the right size and diameter that we want for the final product. Now the car, they're the kind of mock-up. That's why they're different from front to rear now. I know they look weird, but that's just so we can mock up. And it actually sits kind of level without even really.
Well, the only part that looks weird is that they're different wheels and that they look like garbage.
They are garbage. But all in all though, look how it sits. We have suspension in the rear now that actually functions.
And we have a V8 in the middle of a Boxster.
That's the coolest part.
You can't.
Yeah, when you walk up right now and you see these giant tires and the missing rear end of the Boxster with a V8 sticking out the top, it's pretty sick.
The only thing that's missing is a lot of noise and tire smoke.
That's coming.
So we're just going to continue to build a running, driving monstrosity that will eventually get an awesome body.
Yeah, so check back next week for more updates on the Jigsaw project. And yes, we know, it's not a Jigsaw saw blade in the intro logo.
Because that would look stupid.
But this is kind of funny that way.